If you're planning to move to New Zealand, there's a roadmap that most people never even see. If you don't have a structured plan clearly guiding you to the next steps to follow, this process can become very overwhelming, very frustrating, and you could get stuck. This can lead to wasting a lot of time, costing you a lot of money, and it can have a very big impact on your journey. Because moving to New Zealand is a life transitioning change and it impacts the whole family. And that's why a structured, clear, and planned approach is the best way to go. So here are the 5 phases of the roadmap of immigrating to New Zealand. Phase number 1 is your consideration and decision-making phase. Phase number 2 is your planning and preparation phase. Phase number 3 is the moving phase. Phase number 4 is your settling in phase. And phase number 5 is where you're thinking and planning your retirement and your financial future. So in phase number 1, which is such an important phase, and a lot of people skip this phase, and that can cause a lot of problems, waste time, and cost you a lot of money. In phase number 1, it is very important that you do your current life audit. You need to know exactly where you are at the moment, what your skills are, what your family situation is, what your financial situation is. And then you need to have a look and see, right, where is it that you want to go? What is the goal you want to reach in New Zealand? Are you eligible to do that? Do you have the finances to do that? Is your family on board to do that? What is the timeline that you are looking for? So in phase 1, what you hope to do at the end of phase 1 is to have a very clear why. You need to know why you want to move. And that needs to be front of mind as you go through the process. It might be some tough times lying ahead when you're struggling, when you're feeling alone, or when you're sort of feeling a little bit stuck or overwhelmed and you're not quite seeing the picture yet. That is when you need to pull out that journal to say, this is why we are doing this. And when your whole family is on board and on the same page, that makes a very big difference. So the why is really, really important. Then also to be clear on what your financial picture looks like. A lot of people don't do the budget for immigrating to New Zealand, and then they land up halfway through and they don't have the finances to finish the process. That means you're stuck, right? Or you have to return home and you've wasted all the time, the money, and everything that the family had to go through. So it's very, very important to do that budget. And I've created a tool that's in the community where you can specifically for yourself calculate what would it cost you to immigrate to New Zealand. And that would be very helpful to know that figure before you even commit to anything, so that you know, does your current finances actually allow for that, or where do you sit? How long do you have to save? What else can you do to get the necessary funds to complete the process? Because if you don't see it through, you're sort of stuck in the middle. So it's very important to know that from the start. What is the end goal, what you're working towards, and then does your finances support what your plans are? That all happens in the first phase. Phase 2 is your planning and preparation phase. This is a huge phase. So this is where a lot of the paperwork and the structured planning start. This is where you're saying, yes, we're doing this. We want to move and relocate to New Zealand. And now we're going to build out the step-by-step plan, what to focus on next, what are all the things that needs to fall in place in order for you to actually go to the next step, which is the moving phase. There are 7 steps to follow in phase 2. Step 1, you need to be clear on your entry method and your strategy. What is that going to look like for you? Step 2, what would be your financial plan exiting your old country and also entering the new country? What is your job search strategy? Are you going to be searching for jobs still abroad? Are you going to be in New Zealand and do follow the more direct approach? So what is that going to look like? Step 4 would be your visa process execution. By this time, you should have done your eligibility assessment already. Step 5 will be logistics planning. And step 6, bit of psychological planning and practical readiness. These are all things that you need to work through and be very clear on before you're actually ready to move. This is a big step, and you need to spend the right time and make sure you take the right steps. One step leads to the other to get clarity about this phase. Phase 3 is the moving phase. This is where all the logistic planning happens. Depending on what Your decision in phase 2 was of what is your entry strategy and method. If you're going to go on a visitor visa and going to just do some scouting, direct contacting to get a job in New Zealand, then that will look a little bit different from if you are looking for a job abroad and already got a job and then moving directly into the job, right? The one phase follows onto the other. And that's why it's so important that you can't skip these phases. So what you decided in phase 2, what your entry method is, what your timeline is, what your financial situation looks like, what your eligibility looks like. That's going to determine and have an impact on the decisions and the plans you make for the moving phase. Is it going to be moving just on a visitor visa for a couple of months until you land a job, the rest of the family coming later, or are you all going together at the same time? So this is the moving phase where you look at the physical logistics, how you're going to move, what that's going to cost. By now you should have done your budget already, so that you know if you're going to take all your furniture over, what's that going to cost you. If you're not taking furniture, when you're landing in New Zealand, what do you need there? Are you going to renting? Are you going to buy secondhand stuff, new furniture, that type of thing? All of these things are so important to have clarity about, to follow through, to have all the steps done, following on to each other. If you've completed the one step, you're clear on what the next step will do because you've already made that decision and thought things through. Very important to do the budgeting tool, to use it. It's in our community so that you know what the funding is that you're going to need when you land in New Zealand for your first 2 weeks, if you have a job, or if you need to carry yourself for a couple of months until you do land that job, taking all those costs into account so you don't fall short or don't feel stuck in between a rock and a hard place. Phase 4 is your phase, the integrating phase. This is the phase where you want to settle in and move from being an outsider to an insider. There's a lot of strategies that you can follow and steps that you can take so that you and your family feel like you are belonging in New Zealand. Usually by now, your residency is approved, or at least you've got a 5-year, 2-year, 3-year, depending on your situation, work visa. And you're either renting if you haven't got residency yet, maybe you've already decided to purchase a house. And now it's about integrating into the community, having that sense of belonging, being part of that community, participating, enjoying, and mingling. This is a very important phase for you to move towards having your citizenship and being part of New Zealand. Phase 5 is your retirement and your long-term wealth planning and your security planning phase. This is a very important phase. By now, usually you are settled in New Zealand, might have moved around a couple of times, but this is the phase where you need to have a look at and see what would retirement look like for you. Weigh up your debt and your assets, your income opportunities, what you need to do to be able to get the superannuation. Is that going to be enough to sustain you and your family? The size of your family has an impact here. For how many years you'll still be able to work. Your KiwiSaver comes into play. And this is really important to have a look at this seriously. You need to have a structured plan and you need to have a financial goal and a financial plan and guideline so that you know when you do retire, you are financially independent or free and that your financial position and your life in New Zealand will be financially secure for you and for your family. This is not something to leave to the last minute. This needs planning. Sometimes it needs financial advice from a specialized person, and it shouldn't be left to the last minute. So this is the 5th phase in your New Zealand roadmap, immigrating to New Zealand. You're settling into New Zealand and planning for your financial future and retirement. When you follow this structure, everything becomes clearer and you avoid making decisions too early or in the wrong order. If you want a simple guide that you can download that will take you through this step by step and in order, you can click on the link below and I'll send you a copy of the framework. In the next video, I'm going to break down and dive deeper into phase 1 so that you can know if moving to New Zealand is the right fit for you. See you in the next one.